So, yeah, there's these two friends here, Henry and William Afton. They both have some deep and personal lives, and both have very loving and beautiful families, like the average American household. William is a family man with a wife, and eventually gets 3 kids, Michael, unnamed, and Elizabeth. Henry, however, wasn't really a family guy, and is really only known to have 1 kid, Charlie. Henry and William are good friends, and own a small business, Fredbear's Family Diner. It holds 2 animatronic characters, under the names Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. They're actually quite special for their time, as they're able to swap from animatronic to human using a hand crank. Well, actually, they use technology called spring locks. The spring locks basically just hold all the robot parts inside of the suit, so a human is able to crawl inside and do pretty much whatever. But these spring locks are a little bit sensitive, so if they are triggered by water or are breathed on the wrong way, all of the spring locks will come loose and the parts are injected into whoever is wearing the suit. That information is irrelevant for now, and all you need to know is that Fredbear's is actually a pretty weird place in the timeline. It's unclear when it first opened, from early dates of the name Fredbear being referenced all the way back to the 1930s, and Fredbear's Family Diner existing sometime before the 1970s, and all the way up to early 1983. For this version of the timeline, we're gonna go with some undisclosed time before 1970. Anyways, the place got pretty popular, and they sprung up a testing sister location, as we'll call it. Chica's Party World. The main star was Chica, the chicken, and there were a couple other irrelevant characters there for now. This place didn't do too well, and was eventually closed, and a different sister location was opened, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This one did do well, and was open for quite a while, because of its very lovable characters. Those characters being Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, the ones that you know and love, probably. They used the new characters from Freddy's and the old characters from Fredbear's to host a brand new annual event for the town, Fall Fest. It's a carnival attraction for kids to enjoy with some classic carnival games like Fazbear Blast. Alright, let's skip a couple years. 1983, the places are doing pretty good. Fredbear's and Freddy's collaborate again to make a show, Fredbear and Friends. Freddy's also got their own show, Freddy and Friends on Tour. The cherry on this very tall and beautiful cake is that Henry and William decided to come together and make a company, and named it Fazbear Entertainment. It does pretty well all up until 1983, actually. Let's bring up William's family, Michael and Unnamed. These two don't get along too well, actually. William spies on the 2 boys using a Fredbear doll that he gave to Unnamed. And, you know, instead of stepping in and being a good dad to stop, he just watches and gives Unnamed advice. Just kinda weird. But, you know, that comes back and bites his ass when Michael shoves Unnamed into the mouth of Fredbear, that one animatronic that he really hates, to give him, you know, a good scare, like the good brother he is, but instead he gives him a 5-day concussion and kills him in the hospital. William promises to put him back together, whatever the hell that means, and Michael is haunted by the accident and sees nightmares in his hallways for a good while. So, you know, with that information just shoved into you, how do you think William goes ahead and copes with his newly dead son? If you guessed killing kids, you're probably right. Oh yeah, okay, so you remember Henry's daughter, Charlie? Yeah, he murders her outside of Fredbear's. So, you know, you might be thinking, what the hell was Charlie doing alone? That's because Henry decided to put Charlie under the watch of a puppet character. It's unclear why he does that too, but you know, it's probably because William is a crazed psychopath. As I mentioned earlier, this puppet fails its job on keeping watch over Charlie, and whenever she dies and the puppet goes looking for her, it finds her dead outside, and then collapses on top of her. And then the puppet is possessed by Charlie. William eventually notices that, hey, the puppet is flying around and moving around during the night. That's probably not good. This thing probably wants me dead, you know? This is when it clicks. His psychopath, smart mind. This is how he's gonna put his son back together. He gathers his dead son, puts him into a box, and locks it away. And then shoves it into a grave, you know? Just as your average father does. What he doesn't know, however, is that Unnamed is already possessing an animatronic. The one that bit him, Fredbear. He can't fully control it, and it's presumed that he can't see or move. and he's just stuck in a robot that he can't control. And speaking of Fredbears, the place is shut down. 2 kids died inside, and a series of springlock failures also happened there. You know, probably a good idea to shut down. However, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza stays up and doesn't do too well and is left to rot. Okay, let's go ahead and skip a few moments. It's some undisclosed time between 1983 and 1985 when William and Henry disband from their little friend group. And now William runs his own company, Afton Robotics. William decides to study possession by murdering more kids. He opens a new location, Circus Baby's Pizza World, with brand new characters. Circus Baby, who's modeled after his daughter, Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, Ballora, and an unused Funtime Chica. The entire location is a ploy, as the characters are actually designed to distract parents, to separate them from their kids, and then lure kids away, and then kill those kids. However, this backfires immediately as William's daughter, Elizabeth, goes up to Circus Baby and then is killed. He closes the place and says it's closed due to gas leaks. And then all of the circus animatronics are then taken to a bunker underground where they are then put up for rent for birthday parties, and is presumed not to do very well. It doesn't really matter because William does have a body to study. Elizabeth possesses, like fully, pretty much, possesses Circus Baby. It's unsure if William knows. So for this timeline, we're gonna say that William finds Remnant, which I'll explain in a little bit, to make the Scooper. That'll come in later. 1985. William needs more bodies to experiment on because he finds Remnant. Again, I'll explain that in a little bit. So he goes over to Freddy's, gets his old Spring Bonnie suit, which was moved over from Fredbear's, and kills 5 kids. He kind of has an understanding of how possession happens. So in order to hide the bodies and also research possession, he stuffs the 5 kids into some empty animatronic suits. First Chica, then Foxy, then Bonnie, then Freddy, and then Fredbear. The police investigate the place but can't find the kids. So the place stays up for a little bit longer, unsure how long, but long enough for people to start to notice that the animatronics are moving at night. So William's plan worked. He knows how possession kinda works at least. And with this place, rotting and heating up over time, the bodies of the children begin to rot from inside of the suit. And blood and mucus start to pour out from the bodies, and that doesn't make the company look too good. But another object comes running out from the bodies, Remnant. Let me explain Remnant really quickly for you if you're new, or if you just don't know what it is. Remnant is a material. It is good memories of whatever died close to metal, and will only begin to form after heating up. Remnant basically holds spirits' lives as well. So if that gets injected into someone, that makes them immortal, basically. Or until that remnant is then drained out of that person's body. But with good memories, there is also bad memories, which allows me to bring up Agony pretty easily. Agony is the bad memories of the thing that died close to metal. And Agony can manifest bad things into the world. To put it in simpler forms. Sadly, William is unable to experiment with this new discovery because Freddy's is shut down and Fazbear Entertainment goes pretty much dead silent after Henry is accidentally imprisoned because the police believed he was the one in the Spring Bonnie suit and murdered all those kids after being spotted on the security cameras inside the location. So, after a little bit of going quiet, it's now 1987. Fazbear Entertainment needs a brand new look. This is when they bring out Boom, the new, brand new, shiny, improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So, for the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they scrapped the old animatronics, used them for ports for the newer animatronics, as well as using some older animatronics. They now have Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, Mangle, the Puppet, and Balloon Boy. The toy animatronics were based off of toys that used to be around during the Fredbear's era. The puppet is now used for giving gifts instead of keeping children safe, because it didn't really do that job too well. And Balloon Boy is a childler for Mr. William Afton. But to counteract any murders that might happen in the future for whatever reason, the animatronics are retrofitted with special criminal recognizing technology. They also made the animatronics move during the day. Or I guess William convinced them to, so it didn't look weird whenever they moved during the night. Speaking of William, William is, a crazed psychological madman and still wants to kill some kids. So he does. Sometime in November, he decides that's when the best time to strike is. It's the day before birthday, and he murders 5 kids right there that possess the toys and start to act weird.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
If that wasn't a problem already, the birthday party that happens after turns into a disaster pretty easily, as a day shift guard is then bitten on the head, getting his frontal lobe taken out by presumably Mangle. The place shuts down, and then the toy animatronics are scrapped, and the old suits are then reused for a smaller location sometime in the future. Let's skip a couple years. Some undisclosed time around 1993, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza reopens with a brand new look. And that look is ugly as hell, I'm not gonna lie. This place looks sad from what we've seen. The animatronics are still rotting away with blood, mucus, remnant, and agony still pouring out of their pores, and the place isn't doing too well overall. And hey, do you remember Michael from earlier? God, I hope you do, because he's now older and realizes that he needs a job. And now that he's old enough, he gets a job. So he decides that, hey, I'm gonna go to the job that my dad used to work at. But Michael knows what his father did, so instead of, being known for being related to a serial killer, he goes under an alias, Mike Schmidt. So Mike Schmidt here, he does his 5 Nights at Freddy's, and then to Phone Guy's request,
You could check inside those suits in the back room.
He checks the suits, where he finds the dead kids, and then gets fired for tampering with animatronics, and then leaves after his overtime at Freddy's. And with his son gone out of the place, William decides, hey, I should destroy those animatronics so I can get the remnant so I can finally bring my other son back. So he goes in after the place is shut down and destroys each of the animatronics one by one. But what William doesn't know is that he accidentally freed the souls of the animatronics. And those souls are angry. They know who killed him. They remember. So they corner him into the very back room that he killed them in, and climbs into the old Spring Bonnie suit for whatever fucking reason, and then, with a lot of mix of laughing and water dripping from the ceiling, William is spring-locked. He gets crushed in the side of his suit, and the 5 souls of the children fade away as William is left to die. Let's skip to a little later, not too far, but assumed to be around probably after FNaF 1. 93, sorry. Michael is now investigating his father's disappearance, because, he's been gone for a little while, and it's, you don't just disappear. No, who does that? And decides to, check out that old bunker he owned back in, 84, 85, whatever, back in the 80s, But, going down into that bunker, instead of finding his father, he finds his dead sister, as well as other animatronic that he's never seen before. He is gaslit, both figuratively and literally, by his sister, and is then scooped out from the inside using this scooper. His sister, Circus Baby, and the other animatronics also scoop themselves out, so they become this amalgamation entered. So they can then use Michael's scooped body as a suit, like a skin suit, so they can escape the bunker and freely roam as a human. But, they're stupid, they're like 5 years old, and their plan quickly fails because they forgot that bodies rot. Or I guess they weren't taught that. Michael's body rots to a purple color, and then Ennard is thrown up out of Michael's body. But that scooper was a remnant injector. That's what I didn't tell you. I'm hiding that information away from you. William made the scooper after finding out what remnant was, and then he was like, oh shit, okay, I know what I'm doing here. So he makes the scooper and then makes it a remnant injector so he can inject remnant into the animatronics. But is unable to do that. So whenever Michael was scooped from the injector, all of that remnant was poured into his body. And in turn, for being scooped out, Michael becomes basically immortal. So, he just gets up and then, lives without any insides. And then he turns to the shadows and hides away from the public. Let's skip another couple of years. 30 years after 1993. It's 2023 now. Fazbear Entertainment has gone completely silent after Freddy shut down because of the, destroyed animatronics and shit. And, with the strange and mysterious stories about the missing children's incidents around, a random group of people, completely unrelated to Freddy Fazbear's, bands together and I got an idea for money. And they may open a brand new horror attraction maze type of thing and base it off the missing children's incidents that happened all those years ago and named the place Fazbear's Frights. They need somebody to watch over the place and also make it feel more legit because the people knew that there were night guards there. So they hire Michael. They don't, I guess they don't question why he's purple, So they just let him in, watch over the night. They have a week before the place opens. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm gonna re-mention that. And they're still working on stuff, so they got some insider info about a sealed up back room from an older Freddy's location. So they bust it open and they find a really old decrepit suit inside and use it as their main selling point for the place. And of course Michael is there and realizes that's my dad in there. Oh my god. He's alive. He possesses the old Spring Bonnie suit that we now call Springtrap. Michael and William have a nice family reunion, along with some hallucinations, there as well. And, Michael's like, you murdered those kids, so I'm gonna murder you, and then lights the place on fire. And then frees the other souls from the other incident. But a couple still remain. Some time later, sometime in the future, newsflash, William didn't die in the fire. Springtrap. He's still alive, probably really injured, but, he's not dead. And oh yeah, hey, you remember Henry from all that time ago? He's finally freed because the police, look back at the case and, oh shit, more kids died back in 1987. This guy was locked up in 1987. We should probably free him. So that's what they do. As soon as Henry is freed, he devises a plan to finally, once and for all, stop this hellhole that he accidentally created with William. He makes a lure, like the way those kids were lured all those years ago. Henry makes a brand new Freddy's location, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. He hires a certain special someone who managed to escape the fire, the Fazbear Frights fire. And he tells him, hey, you gotta manage the place. You gotta manage the animatronics that you can buy. With that, Henry also tells him, hey, there's some older animatronics in the back that we can salvage for these other animatronics that you buy. So bring those in. Bring every single one of them. You need all of them in. So he slowly brings all of these street animatronics out. In between this time and when Michael got, scooped out, Ennard, the thing inside of him, kind of broke into two. They bring in Molten Freddy, a Scrap Baby, and William Afton comes back as himself, as well as Lefty, an older reused animatronic that is now a trap to get the puppet stuck inside of it so it can be brought into the location. And, after that is done, everyone is there. Everyone is inside of the building. And now what? That's right. If you guess fire, ding, 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 right on the money. Henry turns off all the ventilation in the place, and the place gets hot as hell, and it all burns down to the ground, which frees every soul, and then William is banished to a very personal hell for eternity.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
Well, almost eternity.